is Arielle from Fix My Books, and today we are going to be talking all about sales tax. I think this is the topic that a lot of people get confused with, so I just want to do this video to explain it to everybody. So, first of all, there are different types of sales tax in Canada. So, there's PST, GST, and HST. So PST stands for Provincial Sales Tax, GST stands for Goods and Services Tax, and HST stands for Harmonized Sales Tax. Now there's another tax called QST that is special for Quebec only, called Quebec Sales Tax. The rest are just PST, GST, or HST. So what exactly is the difference between all of these? So first things first, everyone is required to collect and remit GST, okay, in a normal situation. GST is actually the Goods and Services Tax, which is the tax from the federal government. The PST, on the other hand, is in the name Provincial Sales Tax, so it is the sales tax of the provincial government. And HST is the Harmonized Sales Tax. So there are certain provinces like New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, Nova Scotia, Ontario, and Prince Edward Island that have HST instead of GST and PST. So meaning that the federal and the provincial sales tax are harmonized into one tax. Now, HST is easier to deal with because you only have to remit this once, meaning this whole thing, even if it's the harmonized GST and PST together, this just gets remitted to the federal government. Now, for the provinces with GST and PST, now that's where you're going to have issues because these will be remitted to two different ministries. So one, obviously, the GST will be remitted to the federal government and the PST will be remitted to the provincial government, which is, for this example, British Columbia, the BC Ministry of Finance. So there are other provinces where even though they don't have HST, like Alberta, right, they only have GST, you only remit once anyways to the federal government because they don't have their own provincial sales tax. Again, life is a bit easier for those who are under the HST provinces because then even though technically there's PST built into that HST, the federal government will be the one to remit that to whatever provincial tax authority they need to remit. Like on your end, you just need to remit once to the CRA. So it's not really difficult to deal with. So I hope that is clear what the differences are between these different sales tax. A lot of people get confused about them. So I hope this little explanation you understand why there's PST, why there's GST, and why there are provinces that only have HST. Again, HST is the harmonized sales tax, which means the GST and PST are kind of combined together to make it easier for us, the taxpayers, to remit them to the federal government. Now, with this being said, like BC and Manitoba, Quebec and Saskatchewan, they all have GST and then PST, which means not only will you have a GST number with the federal government, you will also have a PST number with your local sales tax authority. In this example, again, it will be the BC Ministry of Finance. So with that, you have to register for a PST account, like a number with them as well. So you will not only remit twice, but you will file twice. You're going to file one GST return and then one PST return. So it's a bit more of a headache, but you get what I mean. Like, you see how it's different, and those are the requirements. And one more thing with this. So you know how with GST, there's usually like the $30,000 rule where if you hit $30,000 in sales, then you have to register for GST. They made it a bit more confusing now. So now there are different rules with GST. It's not just like a hard line 30,000. They have something like a rolling over the last 3 months, something like that. So just double check with that, with the new rules of the CRA, if you actually need to register for GST. Now, with that being said, on the flip side of that, the PST also has the same kind of rules as GST, where depending on the province, right? So like, for example, let's say BC Ministry of Finance, instead of 30,000, let's say like the federal government, theirs is this is just an example, but like let's say theirs is 10,000, right? So once you hit $10,000 in sales, you have to register for PST in this example. Okay, I'm not sure if it's 10,000 or not, so double check with that. But in this example, you see how if you're selling, let's say in BC, you may have to register for PST first before you even register for GST, because the threshold is lower for the PST registration compared to the GST registration. So just because you have a PST number doesn't mean you're going to have a GST number as well. And just because you have a GST number doesn't mean you're going to have a PST number as well. So these are all not automatic. It would depend on the type of industry that you're in, the type of province that you're in, because there are certain industries like our industry, accounting, for example, we do not charge PST. It's one of the exempt, actually. Let me just show you guys. Okay, so you can see here, these are the PST exemptions from BC, and you can see it says non-taxable sales and services, professional services other than legal services. So accounting, you don't charge PST in BC for that, but again, it would depend on your industry. I'm just telling you, there are a lot of exemptions with these type of things. So just be sure before you start registering or charging, double check. I actually called up the BC Ministry of Finance, and they did confirm that, like, hey, you don't need to charge PST services to PST on any services that you provide to clients in BC because you are exempt. Because I was thinking, oh, should I get a PST number? Is this required? So don't be afraid to call up. Like, it's better to know the rules and like have someone tell you, you know, hardline, you have to do this, or don't do this, don't do that. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, please comment them down below. But I hope this was clear what the difference is between GST, PST, and HST. And you can see in this example, you know, you could be charging GST but not be charging PST, like the accounting example, because it is an exempt type of service in BC for professional services. But again, just because it's exempt in BC doesn't mean it's going to be exempt anywhere else, like Manitoba, PST, etc. So you still have to double check with whichever province that you're registered in. Once again, this is Arielle from Fix My Books, helping you fix your books. So if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you always get notified whenever I upload new videos to my YouTube channel. And once again, this is Arielle from Fix My Books, helping you fix your books.